Hi, my name is Caleb Underwood, and I am a certified instructor and a third-degree black belt in Bahk Kwan. A lot of you probably don't know that name and probably don't recognize that martial art. If you hear Tung Sudo, some of you may actually recognize that name. Tung Sudo is our old name. So Tung Sudo actually still exists alongside with Bahk Do. There's a little history behind that, which I'd love to break down a little bit more in depth. If you guys want to hear about that, just comment below, let me know. There's a lot of rich history between that and a little drama, to be honest. But like I said, if you want to hear more about that, I'll be glad to dive into that later on. But just comment below and let me know if you would like to hear that. So Bahk Do is the name of the art that I study, which is a South Korean martial art that dates back 2,000 years, give or take. It is found with the Subaki warriors in the Muye Daebo Tunji. Muye Daebo Tunji, which is an ancient book of martial arts for Korea. So I've been training since 2012 in Bahk Do. I had some experience before that in other martial arts, not a lot of experience. I'm not saying I've been training since I was 7. I started martial arts when I was about 7, but the other styles that I did, I jumped from one to the other. I never got to a high rank, with a few exceptions that aren't worth mentioning, where I did get a little bit higher rank and started to actually understand the techniques in the system. But Bahk Do has been my home for martial arts for the last decade. I've been teaching for a large portion of that. I started helping my instructor out at about a red belt, so that's about 3.5 years of training. And then I started helping out in classes and even teaching some classes on my own that were prescribed by my instructor. So I wasn't making my own decisions, I wasn't just teaching randomly. My instructor told me what to work on, that I did understand, that he and I went through, that he made sure that I knew what I was doing when it comes to the teaching of those lessons, and then I started teaching. All that aside, Bahk Do, like I said, is a South Korean martial art. It's actually the national martial art of Korea. The national sport of Korea is Taekwondo. So Taekwondo, a lot of people know. Any people that even hear martial arts, they can name Taekwondo as one of the martial arts that they know of. So if you think Taekwondo, you're in the right kind of feel for the martial art. They're very similar. The language is obviously the same. They're both Korean. It's just approaching the techniques is a little bit different. Martial arts, a lot of them are kind of like that. There's a lot of similar techniques in Kung Fu, Karate, Krav Maga, Bahk Do, Taekwondo, Tung Sudo. Doesn't really matter what style you train. The only thing that really ever changes is the approach to the techniques. So Taekwondo is a very quick martial art. A lot of the technique is from the joints. That's how they're very quick. So a Taekwondo punch may be like that. And you hear a lot of dobak, uniform in Korean, snaps in Taekwondo. They're very quick. And that's because a lot of it is throwing the technique from the joint, whether it's an arm or a foot, whatever, an elbow. A lot of it is disconnected from the hip, right? They still use their hip. I'm not saying they don't use hip. I'm just saying that it's a little bit more disconnected from the hip as Bahk. Bahk Do is from the hip. Culmination of technique ends at the same time, whereas Taekwondo and Tung Sudo to an extent throws the hip and it's all reaction. It's a little bit quicker that way. Bahk Do being a little bit more planted in the hip is more power. So, and that's pretty much true for all martial arts. You either keep your hip really attached and have a lot of power, or you disconnect from your hip and have a lot of speed. That's kind of where Tung Sudo and Bahk Do came from. Tung Sudo was a very hard style back in the day. So a lot of emphasis on the unity of the hip and the weapon. And Bahk Do still has that, but now we're not a hard style, We're not a soft style like Tai Chi, everything's slow moving through the technique. We're a middle way style is what the name change and the philosophy change kind of came from. So we can be hard, but we also have some soft qualities to us, so it's middle way style basically. And that's a big difference between Taekwondo and Subakdo, is just a philosophy change. When the Grandmaster wanted to change the philosophy and change the name to reflect that philosophy, a lot of people didn't want to change. And people in general are always slow to change. Change is hard for a lot of people. And you put multiple decades of training into that and then say we're going to change a very big aspect of our martial art. And some people who've been training 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 plus years, they don't want to change. So that's where a lot of people separated and said, no, I'm going to stay Tong Soo-do. And they broke off from our Grand Master, Huang Qi, Kwan in the black up there. They broke away from him to stay true to what they were doing at the time, what they had been taught at the time. They didn't want to change with the art, with the Kwan the Grand Master. And so they stayed doing what they were doing. And the people who stayed with Kwan and changed went to Subakdo. So, little history there. But this video, I just want to do an introduction, who I am, what I do, what martial art I study, and some basic information like that. Because this channel, I'm going to continue to grow. I know I've probably lost 99% of the people who flipped to this video, whether it's on YouTube or TikTok, because we're 7 minutes in, roughly, and I'm sitting in a chair just talking. And I know that a lot of people, they're already gone. The people that are still here, thank you for staying here and kind of just hearing what I've got to say. In the future, there will be a lot of movement. There may be a lot of sitting down and just discussing topics that are in the comments below. Any topic you want me to cover on martial arts or Subakdo, any questions, just put those in the comments and I will try to hit all of those. But this is just kind of like a background information session. So I'm a Samdan, right? So that means I'm a 3rd degree black belt. In our art, we do a midnight blue belt as our black belt level, because in a lot of Asian cultures, black is purity or, you know, something like that, perfection. We don't believe that we achieve perfection by achieving our black belt. In fact, Chodan, 1st degree black belt, means beginner level. So we do a midnight blue belt, and that's all the way up to our Grand Master. He has a midnight blue belt as well. Now, master level, right? They have the midnight blue belt with a red stripe down the middle of their entire length of their belt. And you guys have probably seen that with Tong Soo-do, Subakdo. We're kind of the only people that do that. There are some other styles that have a red stripe down the middle of their entire black belt, or as their like mastery level with red stripes or red sections on it. Some of them have a black belt with red sections on it, and I'm not super familiar with those belt systems. I'm not claiming to be an expert on any other martial art other than Subakdo, and I'm not even an expert in Subakdo. I'm a 3rd degree black belt. I've been an instructor for a few years now. I've been teaching, like I said, from red belt up to Samdan. Since red belt, helping teach, not certified to do so, just my instructor knew me, knew my abilities, knew my knowledge, and allowed me to try to learn how to assist classes, up until Chodan, where I was certified as a certified assistant instructor, right? Still not an instructor. I was only certified to assist in classes or teach prescribed sections or entire classes that my instructor told me to teach as a Jokyo, which is a certified assistant instructor. You will hear that a lot later on in the continuation of this series. Kyosa, which I'm currently, is a certified instructor. I've been a Kyosa since Idan, 2nd degree black belt. And hopefully next year I'll be testing for Kodanja, the senior Dan rank or master level with that red stripe we were just talking about. And I'll also be going for my saw bomb, which is certified master